questions that are a little more canned questions as we wrap up. What's the biggest compromise that you've had to make in your career to have the success that you have?
Well, the biggest compromise, that's a really great question. I've never been asked that question. I love when I've never been asked a question before. Those are great questions. So I made a compromise. I'll talk about inside the business. And this is interesting because it turned out to be a great thing. But David, who's my business partner, I had two partners originally in 37 Signals, and then they both left, and so it was just me. And taking on another partner was a compromise in some ways, because it's to me, I got this, I'm running the show now, and now I'm going to bring someone else in, and someone else's opinions are going to matter at that level. Mm-hmm. And so it was
And David, by the way, is, could be called a contrarian thinker as well, right?
Absolutely.
So lots of opportunities for you to disagree.
Yeah, and we do disagree. We still disagree deeply on certain things. We agree on most things. And then there's some things around the edges that we disagree on deeply, which is really healthy. And that's my point, is that sometimes it feels like I have to give, it would be easier if I could just do whatever I wanted, right? But the company wouldn't be better. And that's what I've come to realize. And I realized it pretty early, but I remember, I'm just talking about the moment of taking on another partner again, was this moment where I'd have to make compromises. And it turns out that compromises are actually really damn good things to make sometimes. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I just remember thinking bringing I've got it all now. And this actually includes ownership of the company. I owned 100% of the company, and David came on as a partner, and now he owns a piece, right? And he owned more and more over time. And, looking back on it, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. But I just remember going back, thinking about...
There was a point of tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Internally.
It could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way. I also just I talked to my dad about it, and my dad's always been someone who's never have a partner in business, never taken a partner, because a lot of them dissolve and it's really messy and horrible. And I've been really fortunate to always be able to work with great people. But this is not a compromise I've considered recently. Mm-hmm. I'm thrilled with how things have turned out, but I just remember at the moment.
Yeah.
Really
and the two of you had worked together
risk
before at that point. It wasn't just blindly going into this partnership.
No, yeah, we'd worked together, and I actually encourage people to do that. So I'd
dating before getting married.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd hired David David was still in school when I first met him, and I hired him. He only had 10 hours a week to give me as on a contract basis to build Basecamp. Actually, but before that, we were working on some client work together as a contractor, because we didn't have any programmers on staff, and he was the first programmer I'd ever worked with. And so this client hired us to build an intranet for them, and we're we can do the design. They're well, we want you to do the back end too, and I didn't know how to do that. And I found David, and he did it with us. Anyway, So I mean, that's we had experience working together on multiple levels, but it's still the moment you decide to bring someone into your business, it's as the founder, as the remaining founder, it's a difficult moment.
I'm thinking of it myself. I own 100% of my business,
yeah.
And it would be kind of agony to make a decision like that.
Totally, and I think there's still times, and I'll speak for David, although. I'm guessing David feels the same way, that there's times David would just like to do things his own way, and there's times I'd like to do things my own way. But the fact that we can't do that, and we discuss these things with each other, we end up with something better.
Yeah.
But there's also, of course, frustrating moments for everybody in every relationship. I mean, it's a relationship, right? And that's cool. But it is important, I think, when I think a lot of entrepreneurs these days look for founders that they haven't. I need a co-founder. I need a co-founder. I need a co-founder.
Yeah.
So they just go out and try and find one. You got to date someone first, basically, for a while. I really think that's important because, people are complicated, money is complicated, and people and money together is extremely complicated. There are few things in the world that are more complicated than that, and that's the kind of complication you're getting yourself into when you take on a partner in a business.
Yeah, it's almost like this commodity kind of approach to something that's so personal, or a person. A co-founder is I'm just going to go grab some milk at the store.
Yeah, it's not that way.
Grab a co-founder.
It's not that way, especially like if you're in a business 50-50 or something like a lot of people do. They start out like co-founder for 50-50. I actually think 50-50 is the worst number in business. There needs to be tiebreakers.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another topic. But anyway, so as far as compromises, to get back to that, like that's, I think at the moment was a major compromise that I had to get over, but I'm so glad that I did. But it was a big moment.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. I'm so flattered to have asked you a question that you hadn't been asked before.
I love that.
I'm sure you've been asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.